I don't.
He sent pictures to me. I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr.
No.
Commissioner Simmons, but he sent pictures to me that I forwarded to the reserve fund, and then they came up and looked at the space. I believe they talked to you. I'm not sure if they talked to Public Works, and then that's when they made the determination that that because this wasn't on the regular cement slab, it was off in the grass area, they felt it had been adequately marked and that a person shouldn't be driving around there, so they denied it. Because the city wasn't.
John, can I ask a quick question? Do we have any authority to, dispute what the North Dakota Insurance Reserve Fund is doing here? Or?
Well, I would first of all say that your insurance is there for any type of liability incidences like this. If you decide that you feel that you are liable and you want to make a payment, you could certainly do that. I would keep in mind that sets a precedent because the insurance reserve company has already determined that you are not liable. Right. And then there's also the issue of, I don't know if this was turned into her own insurance company, and if it's just a matter for the deductible that she's seeking, or if she's seeking the whole matter, because it's not as if two vehicles ran into each other and one person's at fault. This is driving over a road hazard. So.
Yeah, I don't have full coverage right now, but.
Do you have collision coverage on your car?
No. If you've been there now, they have about 20 pylons marking off the whole area now. And that's great because now it shows you where you can't go or where you can't drive. Like I said, in the snow, I couldn't see where these cement slabs were. They weren't marked. Now there's a light pole on it, and before there was only a cone, and it wasn't even on top of it. It was just laying in the side. It actually blocked me from being able to see what it is I was trying to avoid.
Tom Clark is a sanitation manager, and so that's his office over there. He did take pictures of it, so if you have some questions about where things were, I think he can answer those.
Well, I'd like to see, I guess, the pictures beforehand of what the lot looked like, did we actually go over there after this and fix everything up so it's all pretty now? Did we really do that?
It is construction zone. So the slab was there, and we put the cones there. The street lights were not up at that time. So the street lights are up as normal course of action. Okay. And we're putting up a buffer fence to come this spring. So it's going to be a black chain link, so we can catch anything that's blowing around. That will define the area, but that's just normal course of business.
We didn't do it just to go out and make it look pretty. It's just no, what I mean. Because that wouldn't be right, you know that.
No, certainly not.
I mean,
any other questions of Chris or Ms. St. Aubin? The question would be, she is requesting reimbursement, so the motion would be to reimburse her or to deny the reimbursement.
No, I don't know by these pictures. I can't tell honestly, fellow commissioners, what it really truly looked like before this car went there. I mean, I think, obviously, if we went out afterwards and did fix some stuff up, one could conclude that we could consider ourselves lucky with the $1,600 bill compared to what could have happened out there. But then insurance, our reserve probably, like you said, are we setting a precedent? I don't know, but I just feel bad. I sure feel bad for you. I realize, according to my understanding, you just have comp, so you don't have any coverage, right?
Right. And they're not from here, so I was trying to explain it to them a couple of times, and the Mr. Fahrenrich was a little bit combative, and I understand that they're trying to protect their interests and everybody else, and I do understand that. But I do feel like I was being reasonable. I wasn't trying to be unreasonable or ask for anything more than what would just help cover my damages.
I do feel bad, but then there's the other side too. In all honesty, you probably shouldn't have been there. Obviously, that wasn't...
at the recycling center?
Well, no, not at the recycling center, but where your vehicle was. I heard somewhere was the cone under the car? I thought I saw a picture of someone with a cone under the car.
It's a very, no, it's not, it was on the side of my car. If I would've run over it, it would've been underneath my car. But it's a very short turnaround area.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it.
I'll come grab that in a minute, please.
Okay.
All I can tell you is I sent all the pictures that we had from the reserve fund and whatever other pictures he saw, I'm not sure. But when I spoke with him, last week, he said that he was very careful when he looked everything over because he understood the situation she was in. But he said it was very clear that she had gone off the cement area and was on the dirt or grass or whatever, and he could see a cone under her car. And his comment was that she was off the path that the city provided, therefore we weren't negligent. She was negligent in driving off the cement pad and trying to turn around in the grass.
You can't see it in the snow. And that's the first time I'd ever been there. I'm new to the west side of there, and I actually, a couple weeks prior to that, had asked where the new recycling center is, because I live in an apartment and I feel like it's still my duty. But if you've been there, it's a very short, it's a small parking lot, it's short. And with snow, you can't see where the grass was. I couldn't see the cement thing that I ran into either. It was not blocked well at all. And the cone was not under my car.
Question for you, Chris. This area now, we did some revamping of that site within the last year or so with the new water tower and the street work and all that. Was the grassy area always there, or was this a parking lot before?
It wasn't a parking lot. It may have been
gravel space, let's say. That could be.
It was just kind of a nothing area. It is where people drove in to go back into the salt shack. So before this, the recycling center was on A Street. So there was no recycling center at this place, and now we put a curb cut in there, and we put in the concrete for the recycling center.
Okay.
So that's new. Behind it.
It was all developed, and I don't know what the weather was like. I don't have pictures that day, but is it possible it snowed a few inches and the blew and it covered it up and the cones got blown away? And I guess the combination of the two things, I could understand why. On the other hand, I do concur with what our city attorney says. I hate to set a precedent and start overriding our insurance carrier, and I guess at least I'm under the opinion maybe we just write a nice letter back to them saying, hey, maybe there is some merit to this, will you re-examine it? But I kind of concur with him. I just don't like to start paying out claims here when our insurance company won't cover it.
Is that something we could do? Could we, obviously we don't want to put ourselves at fault. We're not saying we're guilty by any means here, but I just don't want to leave the poor lady out in the cold either here.
Yeah. That's totally your call. I can tell you, like I said, when the insurance agent that investigated this saw that Ms. St. Aubin had forwarded a letter to the commission, she also sent it to his office and a few other representatives. He called me and he said, I went through this very carefully. He said, because I understood the situation she was in, but he saw no liability for the city. So if you want us to ask him to relook, we can. But he was very clear that he had looked at it, he'd talked to Tom, he'd talked to her, he'd talked to all the different people, and felt that the city had marked it sufficiently and that she was off the area that you're supposed to be driving on.
I think all that we can do is ask them to look at it. I don't think we can pay it because I concur. I think we should ask. I think I can kind of understand, and those pylons look awfully short to me for light pylons. Maybe that's the new style, but usually they put them up a little bit so that you hit the pylon and you don't hit the light.
Well, it was laying on its side. It wasn't even.
Yeah, this looks like a pretty short pylon.
It is fairly short. It's pretty much what you see at any boulevard in the area. We have a new street project. It might stick up 6 to 8 inches at the most.
I could see that there was no light on it, no light standard on it. So with some snow, with some blowing, it could have blown the cone away. Our argument has some merit, but again, as a city, I just don't see us going ahead and paying it. But I would
I would make a motion that I would make a motion, Commissioner Thorsted, that we send it back with asking them to look at it again, but then so noted that that decision is that decision. There's no point coming back here.
Her decision.
We'll try to do that.
And I guess I want to make it clear that because of one of the conversations that I had with Mr. Fahrenrich, he did put words in my mouth. He's saying that, that I was saying that the city was negligent, and I never ever said that. All I said was that the markings were not adequate. So I'm not here to sue anybody or anything. I'm just asking for, some consideration.
I would second, Commissioner Simmons' motion. I think we can ask them and say, you know, it sounds like you have some good arguments. Maybe they can revisit it. Again, but whatever their decision is.
Is their decision then, so.
Yeah, I understand.
Fair enough?
Yep.
Not what you want, but hopefully, you know.
Just being here tonight was an improvement over what it was before, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion, comments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item 9, request to review roundabout in Elmwood at 19th Avenue West and 7th Street West. Collins, Utajai? That's whose name is on it, number 9? Item 9?
Yep, that's who it is.
Is the gentleman here? The gentleman here? If not,
Hey, comment on it anywhere?
sure, go ahead.
Chris, I read it, and obviously he's not here to, give us details on it, but his complaints seem to be about the snow removal. It makes it kind of slow and narrow, and they have to slow down. Well, I thought, well, that's what we put the roundabout in for, is we want them to slow down.
Correct.
So the only question I would have is the snow getting moved back to where it should be? And if so, then I guess personally, I think that's, again, why we put the roundabout in.
Right. I've been following this, it was first reported on the Nextdoor app, and I'm in the same neighborhood, so I read these things as they're coming through, and I went out with the television reporter and did a story on that. And, I was trying to get hold of Mr. Mutigi, and, we've left messages back and forth, and part of his concern was people driving over the curb, and what I could best, as I drive through this on a pretty regular basis to look at it, is the inner truck apron where we have that rollover curb, is that the guys are cutting that over, and I can't see any markings on the outside curbs that show any type of tire tracks or anything like that. So we're maintaining it with snow, how snow and ice is out of there. I can surely attest our snowplow drivers do not like them, but they are able to clear the snow out of it adequately.
Okay, so there's adequate driving.
I think this roundabout, you know, it is smaller than most of them, and it really does slow traffic down, and I think it's truly doing what it was intended to do.
And quite frankly, if they're cutting over on the inside corner, they're probably trying to go a little faster than maybe they should be.
And just to be noted that I haven't gotten one complaint on it, roundabout, as far as people complaining about it being there now. I'm saying I haven't gotten anybody call me saying we want it out of there.
I have.
Have you?
Just that, I'm not sure if it was this gentleman or somebody else, but very adamant about it needed to go. He couldn't get his pickup around there. And
We had 2 public meetings and they were well attended, so.
I got chewed on pretty good at a restaurant eating supper one night, but.
That's why you make the big bucks.
Wait till the big semis start hauling butt through there then, huh? Come November.
Thank you.
It won't happen.
As noted, it said this is a request to review the roundabout, so I don't think we need a motion. Am I correct, John?
Correct.
Is there any comments or other questions? If not, we'll go to the next non-agenda item. Do we want to meet next week?
Do we need to meet next week?
Yeah, I don't see no need to unless there's something that's crucial area at all coming up. Week.
Have to have some.
The only possibility would be 32, the approval of plastic. We have not.
you, Mr. Mayor. Commission, I spoke to Tim and we're good to go on the 19th, so we can skip next week if you'd like.
You do skip it, I'll need a motion.
Aaron?
Engineering and construction bills weren't on this week's list, so.
I think about it, I'm pretty confident we're gonna have at least 2 or 3, construction projects that we submitting request for payment, progress payment. If we don't have the February 5th meeting, that's gonna delay the payment by 2 weeks, which technically by contract, we're supposed to pay within 4 weeks. So going from 4 to 6, they have a legitimate claim to
Damages.
damages, or if they had to incur additional costs or interest, that couldn't come.
Okay. Sounds like we probably should have.
10-minute meeting then?
Yeah.
10-minute meeting?
Yeah.
Maybe it'd be a record one. Yeah, we probably should have it though. We don't wanna go down that road.
I will need a motion to have a meeting next week then.
No, you don't, it's already scheduled.
Already scheduled.
It's already scheduled.
Oh, that's true. That is true. That is true. So we won't. Okay, Tina.
Did we do that, Rich? Pre-approve those or not? What do we ask real quick?
Just a second. Commissioner Simmons had a question. Can we pre-approve those?
I'd say that's
I don't think that's a very good idea though.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
we don't know what the amounts will be.
Well, we don't have a clue. Oh, okay. I thought you already knew some of that information.
They haven't.
They're all for $1 million.
Yeah. So hold off.
Yeah, we'll have the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I just have a few things for you, but first of all, I have one little piece of like housekeeping. I was on the phone with Bruce Grubb, the city administrator from Fargo the other day, and we were discussing our 13th Avenue project. And he explained to me that their city has decided now that they do want to have payments for early completion. And I know this had been discussed, but now what I need from you as a commission is a decision on I need a vote on if you want to do payments for early completion on the 13th Avenue project. It would be $10,000 a day with the highest potential costs for us, an additional $150,000.
They have the same numbers?
Yep, it's $300,000 total, and we're about sharing the project, so. And when I talked to Bruce, he said this is just their standard now, they offer this on these types of projects. And I said, well, it's not our standard, and we didn't do it for 9th and 13th, and so I didn't know that the commission, I didn't know if they'd be open to it or not, but I said I would bring it forward to you guys and get a final decision, a vote, and then I would bring it back to him.
So, based on those numbers, that picks up a maximum of 15 days, 2 weeks.
Yep.
Personally, I'm not very excited about it, but
Mayor and
convince me otherwise.
The total concept was the entire project is bid out as a single project, and they're looking at a maximum of $300,000 for the entire project for a 30-day early completion. Now, if we're not going to split that up, that they're done in Fargo, it's Fargo's half, so they get the savings, but you're not done in West Fargo. It's an entire project from 45th to 9th Street needs to be completed for any day early for that money. And we did discuss that earlier, that we haven't done any type of these projects before. We haven't used any type of incentives, just once, and it ended horribly, but we haven't. We didn't put it down 9th and 13th, and that was what was a big impact to local businesses, and we're fine setting a new standard, something like this, but it's some type of direction we do need.
So if we don't and Fargo does, their half gets done first?
Yeah, that's the concern. So it doesn't, and they're concerned too, because if they put everything in Fargo and get that done, still for an entire project, but then they don't want to just give away $150,000 themselves because it's concentrated in one section. So it really is the whole project or nothing.
I guess it's such a main corridor, that you kind of go that is it fair that we penalize the company for being late, but they don't get any reward for being early? I don't know.
We are putting some pretty stiff, disincentives on this for intersection work. So if they were to close, let's say 17th Street is closed and they're reconstructing that, they're coming up with exact number of days they're gonna allow them to have that closed. And if they don't meet that day, they get $3,500 a day penalty for that intersection being open. So there is some hefty negatives to go along with this.
With this project, we will have traffic both ways throughout
Yes.
the whole project, so it's not like we had to cut off a street in an intersection, so
Right, it'd be head-to-head
it
traffic
may be more
always.
inconvenient for the citizens for a couple more weeks, but
No two consecutive intersections will be closed at the same time, so there's gonna be a lot of access on this project.
The project timeline set at?
It's the normal construction season. I think it's getting bid here. God, I had my time frame here. We had a meeting on it. We're getting bid here about in the next month. It's coming up here in March, bid time frame. So it's gonna be early start, and, I'm sure we're giving it all the way into November or whatever. We have to check to see exactly what that time, if we do go with the incentives, that there isn't a very liberal completion date. Have to really make sure there's more of a construction date project. So if they work the number of days, we figure out they should take 120 days to do this. Well, we don't want to give them a completion date that's 150 days.
Mr. Mayor, if I could. One question, Chris, maybe you could help answer is, how did they get to the $300,000 incentive? Do you recall? I wasn't involved with that. I'm just curious.
Just said 30 days.
It was just a number they chose on several of their other projects. The standard for a lot of their different big projects is $10,000 per day. Then they put a cap on what they feel is that they're comfortable at a total amount to charge that project.
Any questions, Tim or Tim? Chris or Tina? Didn't mean to call you Tim, Tina.
Together they are Christina.
We are.
That was pretty good.
Wow, that's scary. Thank you very much. He has a better beard.
So the question would be,
Need a decision on this, or right now?
Excuse me?
Need a decision on this right now?
Yes, we do. The city of Fargo just wants, they thought we had said no, and then they thought maybe we wanted to, so I just said I would bring it before the commission and get a final answer.
We're gonna meet next week, Monday. Can we know the project timeline and all that? Because
Sure,
that's why,
sure.
that's
Yep,
the road I was
yep.
going down with what
Okay.
Chris.
I have the project timeline for the bidding and all that on my desk.
I'm just curious what,
Yeah, I'll
laid
get
out
that
is.
and I'll talk to them exactly what their language is. We'll get them.
then we'll actually have an agenda item then next week.
yeah,
Yeah,
good
idea. Okay.
Good point, Mark.
Chris, I thought we had said no and they said no.
Yes,
Correct.
you're correct.
But
But
now
then
they
it
came
went
back.
to their
Say,
two-peck or whatever they call that meeting, and two-peck meeting, and they wanted to do it,
This,
apparently.
Wouldn't Dustin be a part of that too?
no,
No, because that's in Fargo.
City engineer isn't a part of it.
But it's
Well, I get
Fargo.
that.
it's a Fargo project, and they're taking the lead on the project, so we're just concurring with everything that they're doing.
Right.
So we'll have an agenda item on this next meeting. We'll get the language, we'll get the time frame, and beginning, and how many days, working days we're gonna be giving them, so we'll have that.
Sounds good.
That sounds good to me.
Okay.
We'll decide on next Monday.
Okay. Beyond that, I just want to remind you all, we've gotten some review notes back on the comprehensive plan, but for those of you that haven't had a chance to read that tiny little document, if you have any thoughts or comments, I know Larry and Tim would welcome them. Melissa's been going through it quite with a fine-tooth comb, and I know Mike sent us back some comments and others, so please feel free to share your comments and thoughts on that. We are going to be holding, we're starting to plan, I should say, for their 2018 construction meeting. We had done one last year, and we plan to do another one this year, and again, focusing on the big projects. and putting them, like, one will be in the West Fargo room and one in here, and just kind of, Melissa and Chris pulled a group together, and they'll be meeting this week, or I think it's this week, and starting out the preliminary work on that so that we can let people know and get some information out there. We will have the bid opening this week for Eagle Run 6th, which is the Cheyenne 32 area, so we're looking forward to that. And next week, the 5th through the 8th, I will be gone at the Integrated Emergency Management Training. It's the one that Fargo had received a grant. It's a national grant. There's a handful of communities they give it to for Fargo, Cass County, West Fargo, and I'm not sure, Pierre would have to tell me if Moorhead's involved or not. I'm not sure. I
think so.
thought it was Clay and Moorhead as well.
I think they are.
Okay. So that will be next week. I'm not sure if any of you plan to attend, but I will gather information because they said there will be some good information at the beginning and again at the end for commissioners and other public entities, so I will get that back to you. And one other thing, the welcome sign by Spitfire. Because of the 13th Avenue project, that sign will have to come down. And Chris has asked me to have you think on this. With that sign coming down, would you like to see something in its place? And if you do you want like a monument sign, something like more attractive with our logo, something that stands out, more modern? Or would you like some kind of sign that only city information, like a, what do you call it, just a, thank you, like a programmable one that we could only, but we wouldn't be able to sell spaces on it, it would only be for city information. So that's something we want you to think about if you have a preference on that. And just next week we'll ask you. That'll be another thing to talk about next week. Okay. And last but not least, we will be sending out our department head survey. If not today, it'll go out tomorrow. And we've reviewed it at department head. And basically the survey is just give the employees the opportunity to feed information up on how they feel the department heads are doing, ways that we can improve, similar to what was done in the police department, but we want to do one to give department heads and myself as administrator information up from the staff so that we can start working on some goals for improving and moving forward and things like that. So we are going to be working on that.
It just came out minutes ago.
Oh, well, wonderful. Okay, it's out now. I just replied to Jenna and told her to send it out. So that's all I have. If you have anything for me.
Any questions of Tina?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other non-agenda items? If not, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everyone.